Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Ethan Tuttle. Sammy Miller joins me on the desk. Sammy, it's your first day on the desk here for CSL. How's it feel?
It feels amazing. I could not be more excited to be here with you at the desk. But let's get right into it and head to sunny Southern California, where ASU men's basketball faced off against San Diego State. Marion Jackson is making his presence known early, driving to the paint and dishing it to Kamani Lawrence for an easy finish. Now we have Neal defending the three, but hustling down the court and slamming it in for a slam dunk. Let's take another look at it. He's going to silence Viejas Arena with the major slam dunk. And now Jackson has been playmaking all night, but he also wanted a piece of the action, draining a three. Look at that footwork, lock, load, and nothing but net. And now we're not done with Jackson. He is going to be driving to the paint with the bucket and foul and one. And if you haven't had enough of Marion Jackson, don't worry, we have some more for you with a clutch three coming up. He's about to sink it from downtown San Diego. And now with just a minute left, it is 63-62. We have Trey Pullman driving inside, draining the floater, taking the lead. And now with 7 seconds left, why wouldn't you have the ball in Jackson's hands? The Aztecs are going to double team him, but he still gets the ball to Neal, but he is unable to make it. The Aztecs take the win 65-63. Marion Jackson had a great game against SDSU, but isn't the only transfer for Bobby Hurley's squad this season. Let's check out the impact of Jackson and three others that have played the most so far this season. Luther Muhammad has been brought in for his tenacious defense and his ability to create offensively. DJ Horn might be one of the best shooters that Hurley has had during his time at ASU, as he shot over 40% from beyond the arc both seasons at Illinois State and has continued to make jumpers in Tempe. Last year's paint presence was virtually non-existent, but with the addition of Alonzo Gaffney to the squad, he brings a tall presence, allowing him to protect the paint and stretch the floor on the offensive end. These four have made a big impact through their first 4 games rocking the maroon and gold. Them and other additions will look to continue making impacts on the floor for Hurley and company.
Let's take a trip out to Provo as we see Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne in her 25th season at Arizona State. It's been a terrific tenure for her. For the Arizona State women's basketball team, though, it's a tough start to the game. They just couldn't seem to get the lid off the basket. We see Taya Hansen missing a three-pointer right there. Later on, it's going to be another missed three, but this time it's Greenslade. She gets the offensive rebound, sticks that one back up there with her left hand, trying to get Arizona State back in this game. Later on, it was Harding right in the middle at the buzzer, giving the Cougars a 9-point lead at the half, and then it was Gonzalez later on for the Cougars extending that lead. Taya Hansen nails a three-pointer as the Sun Devils are starting to get back into things here, as Vasquez also able to get on the board for the Sun Devils. But it's so hard to come back when you got to go up against shots like that. Oh my goodness. Harding once again, look at that, battling through that contact, doing a terrific job as BYU walks out of here with a 55-44 win. Let's toss it over to Trey Jordan with more on ASU women's basketball.
Thanks, guys. After Thursday night's loss to San Diego State, the Sun Devils will return home to Desert Financial Arena for a couple days and regroup before packing their bags and heading off to Paradise Island, where they'll play in the Battle for Atlantis out at Imperial Arena. The Sun Devils will have their hands full as they first have to face off against defending national champion Baylor before playing against VCU or Syracuse, and if all goes well, they'll be in the championship on Friday on ESPN. While Bobby Hurley and his team are busy in the Bahamas, CTT and her squad will be making trouble in Mexico at the Cancun Challenge. They'll face off against Houston, Baylor, and Fordham over the 3-day tournament. Now back to you guys in the studio.
On Thursday, a traffic accident involving two cars. On Thursday, a traffic accident involving 2 cars that were being driven by Arizona State football players occurred. The accident happened around noon as the team returned from the Kajikawa practice field. A car driven by freshman Joe Moore collided into another car containing freshman Jalen Conyers and senior Curtis Hodges. Sophomore defensive end Stanley Lambert and freshman safety T. Lee were in Moore's vehicle, but neither were injured. Conyers was reportedly hospitalized due to a laceration to his head and has a concussion, while Hodges suffered a superficial head injury in the collision. Conyers, Hodges, and Moore reportedly will not travel to the team to Corvallis, leaving the Sun Devils without 2 of their top tight ends.
Now joining me at the desk is WCSN football reporter Nick Elsner. Nick, we've seen this ASU football program at their highest and their lowest this season. Now joining me at the desk is WCSN football reporter Nick Elsner. Nick, we've seen this ASU football program at their highest and their lowest this season. What's the team's identity right now, though, with just 2 weeks remaining in the season?
Yeah, so Arizona State's kind of struggled. They got off to a hot start, and then they lost one at BYU, and the passing game was not there, and then it was there. Rashad White has been the constant for this Arizona State football team. He's the heart and soul. When Rashad White plays well, the team seems to pick up a win, and last 2 weeks he's had over 180 rushing yards in each game, and what do you know? 2 wins for the Sun Devils.
And Nick, Rashad White's been so great, but what are the Sun Devils going to have to expect as they come into Corvallis?
Another strong rushing attack. Now, B.J. Baylor from Oregon State has 12 touchdowns, 1,050 yards. He is a guy that the Sun Devils are going to have to contain, and the run defense hasn't looked that great in recent weeks, so B.J. Baylor is going to be the guy to stop for the Sun Devils.
Nick, Thanksgiving weekend's coming up. U of Arizona's going to come into town to take on the Sun Devils once again. What can Arizona State expect from this Arizona football team?
Arizona's not that great of a football team. They're 1-9 this year, and they're at the bottom of the pack, but in recent weeks, they've been able to put up points on the board with quarterback Will Plummer really doing his job. Now, this Arizona Wildcats haven't really been able to close out a game, so Arizona State's just going to have to continue to play solid defense, and if they put points on the board, Arizona's defense has allowed 346 yards per game to opponents. So if ASU puts points on the board and they can contain Will Plummer, it should be a win for the Sun Devils.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us once again. And now let's go ahead and kick it over to WCSN football reporter Hunter Hipple with a breakdown of Jaden Daniels' quarterback play throughout this season.
Every time you might have asked what's going right with Rashad White this season, you might have also asked what's wrong with Jaden Daniels. And if you've heard ASU head coach Herm Edwards talk this year, you would have perhaps heard him ask the same thing, albeit a little less bluntly. Now, the answer to what could be wrong with Daniels is a muddled one. The junior, by his standards, has struggled at times in 2021. He has 8 interceptions, the most in his career in a given season, and he's averaging 8.2 yards per pass attempt, a good mark that still checks in as a career low. If you adjust that metric, however, to account for touchdowns and interceptions, it drops to just 7.4, the 8th best mark in the Pac-12 conference. On the counter, Daniels' completion percentage is at 66.9 this year, and the ASU signal caller has seemingly been without a key weapon in every game due to the absences of Johnny Wilson and Andre Johnson. Still, when Edwards says he wants to see more explosion in the Sun Devils' passing game, he has a point. An average of 7.5 yards per attempt paired with a completion percentage of almost 67 doesn't exactly suggest that chunk yards are being gained. If ASU's offense is going to be more balanced in its final few games of the year, it's likely going to be on Daniels to step it up.
Thank you, Hunter. Now our very own Noah Furtado breaks down the Offensive Player of the Year race in the Pac-12.
With 2 short weeks remaining on Pac-12 schedules, award season is just around the corner. The discussion surrounding the conference's Offensive Player of the Year highlights no clear favorite, stirring vast debate across the list of candidates. In a conference laced with strong ground games, running backs Travis Dye of Oregon and Rashad White of Arizona State have emerged with strong cases for the hardware. Both Dye and White started the season firmly entrenched in 2-back systems, but a season-ending injury to C.J. Verdell thrust Dye into the starting role, and a career night against USC finally established White as the Sun Devils' workhorse. Another back that certainly has the sheer rushing pedigree to measure up with Dye and White is Oregon State's B.J. Baylor. Compared to Dye and White, Baylor tops both in yards on the ground, but lags behind as a receiving option out of the backfield. His 1,050 rushing yards leads the Pac-12, but his 6 receptions fall well short of Dye and White's receiving prowess. Competing with these backfield standouts is USC's junior wideout Drake London. While the Trojans as a team failed to meet their preseason expectations, the projected first-round pick was the team's lone bright spot. Through 8 games, London produced 100-yard performances 6 times and totaled 7 touchdown receptions on 11 catches per game. Hurting London's candidacy, however, is the fractured ankle he suffered against Arizona on October 30th. Under this current picture, a representative at the quarterback position seems unlikely, but Utah's Cameron Rising may possess an outside shot, especially if the sophomore can lead the Utes to an upset victory over number 3 Oregon this weekend.
Thank you, Noah. Now let's take a look at the standings to get a bit of a feel for how things are shaping up down the stretch in the Pac-12 this week. Oregon and Utah square off in a highly anticipated battle in the Conference of Champions. Oregon just looking to hold on to that number 3 spot in the country as Washington State trails close behind. If we take a look over in the Pac-12 South, Utah is up there at the top of the standings. Right underneath them is Arizona State, as they're just looking to try to claw back into there with that 7-3 record. So they're going to have some work to do down the stretch, but let's go ahead and send it to wrestling here with Sammy Miller and Jonah Krell.
I'm here with WCSN wrestling reporter Jonah Krell. Jonah, ASU Wrestling had its first duel of the season last week. How do you think they played during that duel?
Well, Sammy, in the Mountaineer Invitational, all 5 Pac-12 champion returners, they all won their weight classes. And in addition to that, Michael McGee won at 133. But the 2 wins that really surprised me and stood out to me were Jesse Vasquez, the freshman, winning at 141 in his first tournament ever. And then Kyle Parco, the transfer from Fresno State, won in dramatic fashion, flipping over his opponent in a reversal and a takedown to make it 8 titles for the weekend. Just really impressive, and they moved up to number 7 in the rankings nationally.
And while ASU has returned most of their starters, there still seems to be some holes in the team. So how do you think those holes will affect the squad this year?
Yeah, so those holes really at 174 and 184, those weight classes. And Kale Valencia, the brother of Anthony, you'd expect him to fill one of those holes at 174, but he's expected to redshirt. He said that to the media along with Zeke Jones. And so who's going to fill those spots? You have guys like Zane Coleman and Josh Number, but those are 2 unproven guys. It's really interesting to see who's going to fill those roles. And Zeke Jones said he's just going to throw guys out there and see who emerges.
And tonight, ASU will take on 17th ranked Oklahoma. So what should we expect from the Sun Devil squad?
First of all, this is going to be an anticipated event. Fans haven't been to Desert Financial Arena for a home duel in a long time, so should be a fun one. And just with the matchup itself, there's a lot of star-studded names here, a bunch of ranked wrestlers on both squads, but just a matchup I'm looking forward to. Jesse Vasquez, the freshman, has a big test against number 6 Dom Demas of the Sooners. And the Sooners, they lost last year in their first match to Arizona State, 20-12 in a hard-fought one. And Zeke Jones said the Sooners are going to be targeting this match, and so they have to. The Sun Devils have to bring their A game. It should be really fun to see.
Thank you, Jonah. And as we said, ASU will be taking on Oklahoma tonight at 7 p.m. on Pac-12 Insider, so make sure to check it out.
Arizona State men's hockey is off to a 6-6 start to the season, and with 12 games down, there's still some uncertainty around who the starting goalie is. Yours truly breaks down the pairing and what to watch out for in net for the Maroon and Gold. The Arizona State men's hockey team started the 2021 season with a new addition in net. Junior transfer Ben Cross packed his bags and left Miami, Ohio to come to the desert to join the Sun Devils. Cross stood out early on as a solid backup and maybe even a guy that could come in for ASU and get some wins when needed. New Jersey Devils draft pick sophomore Cole Brady returned for another season in net for the Maroon and Gold after boasting a .91 save percentage the year previous. It was a bumpy start to this season for the sophomore, though. He was pulled twice, once against the Denver Pioneers and once later on against the Colgate Raiders. For Cross, it's just been a different story. In the team's last game against Quinnipiac, Cross had an incredible performance as he stopped 49 shots the Bobcats put on him, a career high for the transfer. And in a goalie pairing that's been given more minutes to Brady so far, and with Cross giving up a goal less on average, it wouldn't be a surprise to see Cross get thrown some more minutes after his last couple of performances for the Sun Devils. Back to the studio. Here between the 2 goalies is sophomore Cole Brady with that 3-4 record compared to the junior transfer Ben Cross, who's got that 3-2 record. Cross also allowing about a goal less on average, and then you see they sit around the similar save percentage, but Ben Cross has 7 goals less against him. Definitely something to watch out for down the line. Now if we go ahead and take a look at the Sun Devils' upcoming schedule for the hockey team, they still have some tough battles ahead as they get ready to take on number 20 Bemidji State soon, and then after that they'll have a chance to get some revenge on Denver after a pair of losses to the Pioneers earlier this season.
As ASU hockey enters the final stretch of its season, Sonia Tomasevic and her squad are preparing for the final 2 road trips on their schedule. Our Nick Borgia has more on what the Sun Devils have accomplished so far this season and what they will need to do to make it to the tournament.
Thank you, Sammy. With just 4 matches left in the regular season, the Sun Devils will likely need to win 3 of the next 4 in order to qualify for the NCAA tournament. As of today, ASU is currently 51 on the National Rating Percentage Index. The top 64 teams will qualify, and 3 wins will essentially guarantee the Sun Devils a spot. However, the question is, does ASU deserve to have a spot in this tournament? With an overall record of 14-13 and a Pac-12 record of 7-9, the Sun Devils have had their fair shares of up and downs this season. This October, the Sun Devils took down number 14 UCLA, number 18 Utah, and number 15 Stanford. But with that, ASU has also fallen short to teams like Georgia, UNLV, and USC, schools that are all significantly lower on those RPI rankings. Regardless, 8 5-set losses, including 1 to number 1 Louisville, shows that the Sun Devils can compete with any team they match up against. I'll send it to my fellow women's volleyball reporter Kellen Croxton for the full breakdown on those Final 4 matches.
Thanks, Nick. Although ASU volleyball had a hot 5-match streak midway through the season, the team sits at 7-9 in conference play. To have a chance at making the national tournament at the end of the season, the Sun Devils will need to win at least 3 of their Final 4 matches. Looking at their Final 4 opponents, Arizona State has only beaten 1 earlier in the season, tonight's opponent, UCLA. But even with the 1-0 season record against the Bruins, it won't be easy. UCLA is currently 1st in the Pac-12 and tied for 13th in the nation, while Arizona State's 8th in the conference. Luckily for the Sun Devils, the Bruins lost in 3 last match to Oregon, but Arizona State will have the best chance of the weekend against Sunday's opponent, USC. They're currently sitting at 7th in the conference, and in their previous matchup of the season, Arizona State lost in 5 despite winning the first 2 sets. On the 24th, the Sun Devils will take on Oregon State, and what will be the easiest match of the stretch. The Beavers are last in conference, 2-14 in Pac-12 play, and their only 2 wins are against the winless Golden Bears. In their final match of the season, Arizona State will rematch their first conference opponent, Arizona. Both teams sit at 7-9, and even in their last match, it went down to the wire, with the Wildcats beating the Sun Devils in 5. So, 4 matches left, 1's a tough win, 1's a free win, and 2 are even matchups. To win 3 out of 4, it's going to take another hot streak from the Sun Devils. Now to Jake Seymour on the team's inconsistency.
When watching Arizona State volleyball play this season, it has been hard not to notice their inconsistencies on the floor. It starts at the outside hitter position with Roberta Robello. Robello had a strong start to the season, but her play quickly diminished once conference play started. It would have to be Jelly Sear that would pick up her slack. Jelly Sear has earned conference recognition by having 8 matches with 10 or more kills, and has also earned Pac-12 Freshman of the Week award this past week. But the inconsistent play doesn't just stop there. It goes to the second middle blocker. Beatrice Bedini started things off on the right foot, but got tripped off once conference play started, with her hitting percentage nearly dropping 30%. Claudia Stalke would answer the call and pick up her slack by having a hitting percentage of .250. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, let's have some fun here. We've got some top plays for the viewing audience at home as Arizona State Wrestling taking on App State here as its wrestler Kyle Parco just going back and forth against his opponent here as they're just grappling on the ground, trying to get a grip here. And here comes the Uno reverse guard from Parco as he lays him out on his back. Just an incredible play that time.
And now to number 3. Now make sure to not focus on Rashad White and instead focus in on the offensive line, especially Ladarius Henderson, who absolutely trucks the Husky freight train coming through. We're gonna look at it once more with this pancake block. We're gonna need some special maple syrup for this one.
Well, Sam, you're going to want to take a look at Rashad right here because he makes one heck of a play on the left side of the field. You see Jane Daniels out of the shotgun, takes the snap, fires one over the top right into the hands of Rashad White. He makes a great play, stretches his hands out. That one later would be reviewed, but found out it was a catch.
And we're saving the best for last. With 40 seconds left of the game, Dylan Morris is picked off by Merlin Robertson. He is running. Is he going to stop? I don't think so. He's going in for a touchdown. And let's take another look at this pick 6. Merlin is going to pick the ball off, and he's just going to keep on running. And ASU is going to run to victory, getting the dub at UW, winning the game 35-30.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us for another episode of Cronkite Sports Live. For the entire crew in studio, Sammy Miller and myself, we thank you, and we will see you next time.
Good job. Good job. Good job.